What's that? Who there? Whoa.
I don't think there is a more important quality of a founder than being self-aware. I think self-awareness allows you to grow. Self-awareness allows you to understand or reveal your blind spots. And I think self-awareness has allowed Austin and I to be able to grow a company much larger than we probably should have been able to, because we knew what we knew and we had an openness to finding out what we didn't know and hiring around that. So that's the first. The second would be, people talk about, everyone has strengths and weaknesses, right? And there's debate about, do you spend more time on your strengths? Do you strengthen your weaknesses? And I've gone back and forth on this because I think my way of being has always been, I'm competitive and I don't want to have weaknesses. I just want to have all strengths. And so I think my natural motive is to work on my weaknesses because that's a challenge. And if I can overcome that challenge, I feel the satisfaction of it. But I think really the right answer is in building a business, doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on your strengths, and then hiring into your weaknesses is probably the highest leverage, best thing that you can do. So that's the second. The third is spending a lot of time thinking about how to hire properly. I think a lot of people, when they go to hire, shoot from the hip. They're not planned in their interviews. They get a job description up late. They settle for good enough. And I think you realize once you start hiring that if you mishire and say 3 months, it takes you usually a month to realize that you made the wrong hire. It usually takes 3 to 6 months for you to actually let the person go. Once you realize that when you make a mishire, it set you back 9 months because you have to manage the person that you mishired. 6 months into it, that's when you separate. That's when you start a hiring process again for the new person. That usually a hiring process takes 2 months. You onboard someone, that takes another month. Like, hiring improperly is a 9-month setback. And so I would just say that I don't think you can put enough time or too much time into hiring really thoughtfully. That's the third. The fourth is having your non-negotiables in the work that you do. Like, to me, I've always had my non-negotiables in working at Morning Brew and in my career in general. And my non-negotiables are, I want to feel challenged. I want to work with great people. I want to build and provide something that adds value to a lot of people. I don't want to wake up in the morning feeling anxious, and I don't want to worry about money. And to me, as long as I'm doing those 5 things, I shouldn't do something else. Once 5 goes to 4 and 4 goes to 3, that's when I have to really think hard about, are these reparable? Like, can these go back to all 5 criteria being satisfied? Or is there something that's changed permanently that needs to make me think more about what I'm doing with my time? The fifth is, as a founder, you have to evolve in the work that you do, right? So going back to the founder's journal I was talking about, right? In the early days, you're the writer, you're the editor, and you're the prompt creator, right? So like the prompt that we created for Morning Brew was, how can business news be better for our generation? The essay is Morning Brew. It is the daily newsletter, it is the product, the daily newsletter that is the best daily business read for millennials, bar none. In the early days, Austin and I wrote the prompt, which was the problem we want to solve. We created the product. We edited the product. And then you realize as the business grows, you start firing yourself from different positions, right? We fired ourselves from writing the essay. We hired great essay writers who wrote A+ essays, not B+ essays like we did. Then you start to hit your stride. You've hit product market fit. Your audience is getting bigger. You fire yourself again. Now you've hired writers and you've hired editors. So there's great writers creating a great product, and there's editors who are guiding and providing feedback to great writers. Now you're left just being the prompt creator, deciding what are the problems you want to continue solving. the work you do changes as you evolve as an entrepreneur. And I think what a lot of people fail to do is change their mindset as their work changes and how they attribute value to the work that they do. In the early days of building a business, the act of doing is addicting. Doing means equals productivity. The more you do, the more you feel productive. If by the time you get to the third stage of the business and you fired yourself from writing, you fired yourself from editing, and you're doing just like the prompt creation, well, prompt creation isn't a very productive feeling if you're still anchoring yourself to doing, right? Like you are guiding the long-term strategy of where you want the business to go. You're not seeing the impact or fruits of that tomorrow, next week, or a month from now. You're seeing that like a year from now. And so I think something that I've struggled with, and a lot of entrepreneurs I believe do, is if you don't adjust your mentality for the way that you do your work changes, you're going to feel a level of dissatisfaction with the type of work you're doing as you have to change.